Hello, everyone. This is Dr. I here, the founder of Classroom Without Walls. And happy Monday, and welcome to another live training. And I will be talking about, forgot to use something. And I will be talking about future-proof your children. What parents and educators need to know. I'll be sharing my personal journey. I will also share with you 5 secrets that I have discovered that can really help your children become ready for life, for career, and for the future. I will also be sharing some frameworks and theories and structures that I have been using at Classroom Without Walls for my own students and consulting, and also at home and homeschooling my own children. Today's training is going to be a little bit longer, and if you feel like you need to take a break, especially for those who are watching the replay, feel free to pause the video or after the live training is over to go back. And I'm live on different social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube. And if you are live with me right now, and let me know in the comment section where you are joining me live from, social media wise and geographically speaking. I'm so happy you are here with me on a Monday morning, or regardless of where you are. And so I will not be able to answer any questions you have as I'm doing the training right now. And if you have any questions, and please feel free to leave your questions, hey Brian, in the comment section. And I promise you that I will go back to revisit your questions after I finish the live training. And let's get started. Are you ready? Let me know in the comment section you are ready. And so I want to first of all start my personal journey, my personal story from where I was to where I am today. And I think my personal journey, if you are an educator watching this right now, or if you are a parent watching this right now, I think my personal journey can really give you some insights on where on the landscape of today's education, and especially for parents, you are not in the classroom, so you don't even know what is going on. So my personal journey can really help you gain that insider's perspective on the current state of education. And my cat is trying to join. And so I'm going to share my screen and some pictures, really simple with you. But most of the time, I'm going to use my lovely whiteboard to do the training. So let me share my screen right now. And so don't forget to let me know where you are joining me live from. And I promise you, today's training is going to be value-packed. And every single thing that I share with you, I have tested this myself with my own children. I have 2 children myself, and through consulting, and also as my own classroom, traditional classroom, and as my own school. So if you have a notebook with you, feel free to take notes and take screenshots, okay? And so I originally grew up in China. Many of you, especially if this is the first time you actually hear me speak, this is my personal journey. I grew up in China, and I came to the United States in my early 20s to study, to get degrees, as many as possible. And I went to Syracuse. I got my master's degree, and then I went to the University of Maryland, where I got my PhD. And I worked with more than 2,000 students to really help them go through their life struggles and give them career advice and help them have life fulfillment. I also love being silly with my students. I love doing and hosting events with my students. I also serve as an Adobe education leader and a HubSpot Academy instructor. And my work got featured on Forbes, on today's show. And this is actually a really powerful article wrote by one parent and his children participated in my program last year. But this article, he shared some powerful reflections on the current state of education in the United States from a parent perspective. If you are interested in any of the articles I share, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. I will give you the link so you can check them out. And also my work got featured on Inside Higher Education, Pearson Education, and last year I got voted as the top 4 among the top 5 20 socially influential learning professionals of the year. Really, really honored. And those are some other places I got featured. And I also, nowadays, I also serve as a speaker and consultant. I speak on stage, talk about social media. I also teach other educators and other schools in terms of how they can teach the next generation by using social media effectively. And here's a picture of me keynoting at an event last year, actually in South Korea. And the picture on the right is my son in the audience taking pictures for me. But most importantly, I see myself as a mom. And if you are a parent, have 2 children, I love them dearly. Just like you, if you have children, you also love your children. As parents, as educators, we love our children. And we want them to have the best in their lives, to become the best version of who they are, to constantly growing and improving. So if now, after you hear me speaking and the last several slides, you think, hey, you know what? Your life sounds pretty amazing. And I want to tell you, my friend, that is not how I got started on this journey. And the next picture I'm going to share with you, please do not take a screenshot because I feel a little bit embarrassed to share that picture with you. But this is where I was quite a few years ago when I got started on my teaching career. And I'm going to, it's actually hard for me to see this picture myself. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and come back to this. And so that picture you saw, me, and it was really where I was a few years ago. And this is the story. I was very, very depressed as a teacher, and every single semester. And my husband can really tell you this. I cried so much. I cried with my students. I also cried for my students. And why do I cry with my students? Because I knew by heart that my students, they were not interested in learning. And why? Because the questions they asked me a lot is, hey, Dr. I, will this be on the exam? And Dr. I, if I go to your event, am I going to gain a point? If I miss this, am I going to lose a point? So everything is about A or B or GPA, how many points I'm going to get, how many points I'm going to lose. And I'm not sure about you. That really hurt me because, again, as a teacher, and the reason I became a teacher was to see the spark in my students' eyes, the fact that they didn't really enjoy the journey of learning. That really hurts me a lot, and it was really miserable to teach in front of a group of students and for so many years, and know the fact that they don't really enjoy the journey. They care more about the outcome. So that took away my joy as a teacher. And at the same time, I like every single semester, especially later, I started to have more and more students, my own students and students from different schools approach me and telling me how depressed they are and how unprepared they felt for life. And that's why they cried, and I cried with them because I was also miserable as a teacher and I didn't know what to do. And at the same time, I also cried for my students. So why do I cry for them? I cried for them because I knew how unprepared they were for life. And in fact, last year, again, if you are interested in any of the articles I'm mentioning right now, let me know in the comment section. I promise you, I will give you all the links. So last year in November, there was a big study that came out saying 73, 73. That's a pretty high number. 73% of organizations, they struggle to find qualified college grads to fill in their positions. More than half. At the same time, there's another article talking about how unprepared our students are for life, and saying that college education, at least in the United States, has not yet prepared our students to have the important hard skills and soft skills to be ready for future. So those studies, I started to do more research on this. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. And as I try to understand what is going on, why the education model is so broken, and something really interesting started to happen at home. And I told you I have two children myself. My older son, about a year and a half ago, he was like, Mom, like, I don't want to go to school. It is so boring. I'm not learning anything. I just don't want to go. Whereas I knew when he was younger, and he told me he loved learning. I can still see that the spark in my younger children's eyes, in my younger son's eyes, how much he enjoyed learning. I was like, what's going on? My own students, they became so disengaged. My own biological children, they started to become very similar to my own undergraduate students. And I did more research on this topic. To my great surprise, I discovered, and this is a universal problem. And the students, as they grow older, they become more and more uninterested in attending school. And so much research has shown that, has become a global issue. At the same time, listen to this. Our children's imagination, creativity actually decreases as they grow older. I was like, wow, am I doing more damage to my children, my own students, than my good intention to teach them? And I became really obsessed with this education problem or education puzzle. I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. And I did. And so I made two very important decisions in my life. And even to this day, I want to thank myself for making those two important decisions. Decision number one, and I became a practitioner. And so I do have my MA, PhD, and certifications. I have quite a few degrees. But what I noticed that was missing in my teaching career was because I was only an academic. Blah, 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 blah. I talked a lot, maybe too much. And I don't have any professional background to back up what I was teaching in the classroom. So this was like 5 years ago. That was a wake-up call to me. And I told myself, everything that I am teaching my students, and I am going to do this myself. And I was teaching public relations classes, communication classes, and later, as social media has become really popular, I started to teach more and more social media classes. So I became a social media practitioner. I started to share content, produce content online. My intention at the time was to be a better teacher. But as I continue to produce content, the content I was producing also was changing my life and my professional career, and eventually led to my resignation of building my own school here, Classroom Without Walls. But anyway, so that was one big decision I made as a result of my obsession with figuring out this education puzzle or education crisis, however you want to call it. And the second big decision I made was I became a student again. It was a little bit hard for me in the beginning because I know after you get a PhD, what they call it, a terminal degree. And I was like, wow, I already got a terminal degree. Why do I have to learn again? So again, it is a mental shift. And because I was really troubled by the lack of engagement in my classroom and the lack of interest in my own children at home. And so I decided, to let go of the status, the fame, if there's any, to feel good about my PhD. I let go of all of that. and I decided to become a student again. And I started to listen to podcasts, to read the books, and to attend conferences, and to read not just academic publications, but industry reports talking about the future of education, 21st century skills, soft skills, hard skills, future readiness. As I mentioned, I became obsessed. So as a result of my personal journey to become a student again, to become a practitioner, and also working with different schools through consulting, one-on-one coaching, this and that, I feel like I cannot figure this out. So as I was doing this over the past several years, and I discovered 5 secrets that I want to share with you. Those 5 secrets, and can really help you look at education very differently, regardless of you are a parent or you are an educator. Well, those discoveries will help you see what are the missing links in our home education or in the traditional school education. And if you truly care about your children's education, if you want them to be ready for the future, for their lives, not only have financial success, but as a human being to have life fulfillment, and you have to pay attention to those 5 secrets that I am about to share with you, and take notes if you want. And also, some of them are not being discovered in a traditional school environment. So if you are a parent watching this right now or on replay, and if you want to help your kid to be ready for life, you have to figure out ways to supplement. Okay, so let's get started. And secret number 1 is, school-based learning or academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg to help your children, our children, be ready for life and the future. So number 1, it's only the tip of the iceberg, okay? So pretend this is an iceberg. Let me move my screen a little bit. Okay. And so this is kind of their school-based learning. Okay. So if you want, I discovered this through my own consulting and running my own school. I visited so many startup companies, Fortune 500 companies, and reading articles. And even those companies, startup companies in the technology space, if you ask them, and what did you have to help you get to where you are, they all pretty much mention like the specific knowledge you learn from school is kind of the tip of the iceberg. Okay, so remember that. And there is a very famous a model or framework in learning and leadership development that I want to share with you that can really help you understand this. Why, knowledge, even though that's kind of many parents' attention, is only the tip of the iceberg. So here is why. And this is, again, I paid thousands of dollars to learn from my PhD. I will share it with you for free. So, and this one, if you are a parent, or if you are entrepreneur, if you are a teacher, and definitely apply this model, and that will help your own students have massive level of success. So let me try to use a different color. So this model is called 70-20-10. I don't know if you can see. So what this model talks about, as I mentioned, is really well known in the in leadership, in learning, in those disciplines. So what this model talks about is, is for any transformation to happen, when you think about your own children, right, or your own child, I don't know how old they are, it does not matter. I have applied this to 20 years old, myself, 40 years old, and to 8 years old. So think about where they are now and where they want to be, a future state. So for them to get to from where they are to where they want to be, that future state, there has to be a bridge. And this is the bridge. And what this model means is that for that transformation to happen, and 10% comes from formal learning, structured learning, okay? Like what you are doing right now, watching me talk and teach you something, hopefully something useful. And that's only 10%, or watch an online video, watch an online class, read a book. That's only 10%. Let me remove this so you can see me better. Okay, so that's only 10%, okay? Anyone know and what the 20% is going to be? So the 20% is social learning, the social aspect of learning. Okay, peer-to-peer discussion, working with the teacher on a one-on-one basis or in a small group setting, have discussions, talking about things. So you need that social atmosphere for learning, for transformation to occur. And the 70% is the most important, which is what many schools, at least a traditional curriculum, they don't really talk a lot about. And that is application, experiential learning, learn through real life exposure on the job, challenges, homework, and this and that projects. And that is the 70%. Okay, so that's my secret number one: school-based learning or academic learning. If that's your focus right now, you have to think twice. That's only the 10%. It's only the tip of the iceberg to get your children to be ready for life, for the future, and to be happy. Okay. And I'm going to approach the end of today's live training, and I'm going to share with you what's the rest of the iceberg. So make sure you stay until the end. So that's my first discovery, which shocked me a little bit, because as a teacher, I'm guilty of this myself. And even as a mom, I seem to care only about the academic aspect of learning. And the second secret was kind of a follow-up to this, which is EQ, emotional intelligence, and the soft skills. They are twice as predictive of a person's long-term success than IQ. So let me repeat this again. EQ and the so-called soft skills, they are more than 2 times more predictive of a person's success, a student's success, a person's success than IQ. Okay, so that's number 2. Doesn't work anymore. Again, how many of us are guilty of only, I kind of mentioned this earlier, only looking at the IQ of our students? When you go to school, there are so many ways to measure a kid, to measure their IQ, but we don't really hear enough about talking about the emotional aspect, the emotional intelligence. I mentioned earlier, and last year I visited quite a few startup companies, and even those in technology space, startup companies, like one company in particular, they are valued at $300 million US. And I asked the founder, like, what is it in you that really helped you to have this level of success? And he talked about interview skills, communication skills, collaboration skills, emotional intelligence. So EQ and all those soft skills are very important. And here's another study that came out last year. So as AI, artificial intelligence, and technology become more and more prevalent in our society, guess what? There is an increasing demand for human skills. And what human skills are we talking about here? So communication skills, listening skills, critical thinking, and interpersonal skills. Okay. At the same time, earlier this year, LinkedIn Learning published a similar article, and they highlighted the important soft skills that most companies need in 2020, including creativity, persuasion, adaptability, collaboration, and EQ. They all mention EQ. So as a parent, and I hope you are actually thinking and resonating with what I'm saying right now. And IQ is important. You want to make sure that your children know something, but that is far away, the tip of the iceberg. That is far away from the entire package to get your children to become future ready. So that's secret number 2, which was really actually very shocking to me and really helped me see the missing links in my own education. And the third secret is, this is even more shocking. Now I have to add quotation marks. So what does that mean? Digital natives are not digitally savvy. And what this means is, hey Stella, and what this means is that I worked with more than 2,000 students, and now through consulting and just like online. Even last week, I gave a talk to a school in San Francisco. Last week in San Francisco, talking about personal branding. So parents or educators, you need to understand, just because your children have grown up with technology, it does not mean they are also digitally savvy. Okay, let me repeat that again. Just because our children have grown up with Wi-Fi, internet, and Facebook and Instagram, it does not mean they are digitally savvy. So what I mean by that is they are very good. They know how to send a picture. They know how to take a selfie, post on Instagram. They are very good. So they are very good at using social media for what? For entertainment. But they have no idea how to use social media, LinkedIn. Like last week for my talk, when I talk about LinkedIn to the students at this high school in San Francisco, they were like, as if I were speaking Spanish, right? And so they know how to use this for passively consuming content, for entertainment. But if you ask them, hey, how do you use this to build a personal brand and to educate, to inspire? They have no idea, okay? So as parents, this is a missing link. And so where your children are, right? I don't know. So this is kind of where they are. They are a consumer of social media, maybe even a victim, right? Their identity is attached to this and that. And if you want to help them, educate them, you need to move them away from the consuming level to the creation level, okay? Which I will discuss later. I have a really powerful framework that I want to share with you. But was really shocking to me. It was so shocking to me. And my own students, and I'm talking about those students who were in my social media classes, communication classes. If those students have no idea how to use social media to build a brand, to communicate a story, I can only imagine the students in law department, in medicine, in physical education, who have nothing to do, at least on the surface level, with social media. I can only imagine how unprepared those students are. But my own students, not just my students, but the students I communicate with on quite a global level, and many of them have no idea. So parents and educators, if you are watching this right now, you really have to think of ways to help your children develop that digital literacy so that they know how to use social media, like how I am using social media right now to actually share something informational, informative, and valuable, right? I hope I'm saying something that you're like, that is such a great point. You are taking some notes, but so few students have this skill. So in other words, if you want your children, if you want to future-proof their career, and you have to do this. probably through an alternative school or at home, because I think many traditional schools are not really talking about this. And in fact, talking about this level of digital literacy, and going back to the LinkedIn Learning article I mentioned, a LinkedIn Learning article that came out this year, they listed soft skills, which I just mentioned. They also listed hard skills. Guess what is under the hard skills? Our students' ability to use social media to create, to engage in storytelling and story selling, right? We're in today's show me economy. You can tell me how good you are on a resume. I don't really believe that. Show me how excellent you are in a 3D manner, right? On being really active on LinkedIn, building personal brand, engaging in very simple video production. All those are very, very important skills that you need as a parent or educator watching this right now, that you need to understand. And if your children, many of them are not learning about this from their school, you have to figure out ways to supplement, and so they can become future ready. So that is secret number 3. And secret number 4. Online learning is not the magic pill. Okay, so what I mean by that is, many people think that, oh my God, online learning is the future. I totally agree. Online learning is very, very powerful, like what I'm doing right now. But do you actually know the completion rate for online classes is as low as, let me know the number in the comment section. The completion rate for online classes is as low as 15%. And how many of you are guilty of this yourself? And as a pretty motivated person, I have purchased quite a few online classes, to learn, to upskill myself. And guess how many classes I purchased that I actually finished? It does not work. So if your children right now, everyone is doing homeschooling right now, online learning, if they are only watching pre-recorded videos, I think you need to take a different class. And those pre-recorded videos, they work, but they do not lead to transformation in your own children. And they may gain short-term memory, but if you want them to have like lifelong knowledge and skill acquisition, and online learning is only part of the picture. And this is what I think the solution is, which is a more hybrid, model. I call this blended learning. And I love online learning myself because it's self-paced, self-directed. I watched this video and I didn't really understand this point. I can always go back, or I can do some additional research to fill in the gap. It is very powerful because when you think about traditional class, you have 200 students, 300 students. I have taught at those level classes. It didn't really help our students. There's no personalization. You feel like you are running a zoo, right? It's not really like an engaging class. And so in that regard, online learning is very good. However, there's a big missing piece to online learning, and that is human being. That is what I'm doing right now. And many people think technology or a digital learning platform is the solution to 21st century education problems. I disagree. Now, I don't think technology is the solution. I think human being, like what I'm doing right now, human being, we are the solution to our educational problem. We, like, almost every single week, especially the past several weeks, I got approached by startup companies in the education technology space. They're constantly approaching me, hey, check out this app, that app. They think an app is the solution to our education problem. No, the human being behind the app. So the humans, we need more qualified educators who understand how to teach. Okay, so I can really go on and on about this, but I don't want to talk too long. And if you are a parent watching this right now, and you really have to think, and especially if your children at home that are watching so many pre-recorded videos, I want you to put on your critical lenses to really think critically about this, to examine the class. Are your children actually learning something? Is there a human component? Information does not lead to transformation. Guess what does? Application. And through application, you need more coaching, more hand-holding, and for that, you need a human being. So I don't think online learning is this magic solution to all the education problems, which was different from how I was thinking before I embarked on this journey and to figure this out. And I think blended learning or hybrid learning, you need a human component. Even 2 years ago, an education futurist, and he is a professor at Harvard University. And guess what he predicted? And he predicted 50, pretty high. 50% of American colleges will go bankrupt in the next 10 to 15 years. Of course, that number is a bit controversial. Some people agree, some people disagree, but it does not matter. That's not my point. So in that article, he did mention, the reason that led to so many schools bankruptcy is actually because of online learning. However, he made a very compelling point in the article. Do you know what it is? He said, online learning is never going to replace human being. That's such a great point. And in the same article, he gave us an example. Like so many schools, so many alumni, they donate to Harvard, Stanford, all those Ivy League schools. It's not because of the overall ranking of a particular school, was actually because of the impact of one particular professor has made on this student's life. And I want you to kind of pause for a second to reflect on your own journey, the good teachers, the bad teachers. So the good teachers are probably those who has made an impact on your life. At least that is my case. A teacher who believed in me, even though nobody believed in me. So that human component is so important. But many online classes, they are missing that human component. And if you remember earlier, I talked about this 70, 20, and 10 model, right? So 10% is the traditional formal learning, and 20% is social learning. Learning is a high-touch, emotional human labor. And human transformation involves human involvement. And you really have to understand that, because I see so many mistakes like parents made. They think that online learning is going to just put their kids in front of the computer and watch a bunch of pre-recorded videos. It's not going to work. And my own children, my 8 years old, a few weeks ago, he took a very bad online class. And thank God I have this educational background. I knew what was missing. It was so bad that he actually started crying right after the class is over. I think that's the last thing we, as parents, we wanted to happen to our own children. They took this class because they're actually interested in the content, but the teacher had no idea how to teach and turned something positive, a joyful learning experience, into something really unfortunate, end up in tears. But anyway, so that's secret number 4. I'm going to wrap up in a few minutes. Thank you for still staying with me for this long training. And number 5 is, if you're an educator, this may hurt you. So this old model of sage on the stage is game over. And for quite a few years, I've been a teacher for 10 plus years, and I always had this pressure that I I'm supposed to know everything, right? I'm the teacher. I'm supposed to be perfect. And through my own research and consulting and working with students at my own school and in different schools, I think this model needs to be disrupted, at least on 3 different levels. And number one is, like teachers, we need to have this mental shift from being the sage to more a collaborator, a facilitator, a coach, or a mentor. And this applies to also parents at home. If you are teaching your children, don't be a dictator. Hey, kid, do this, do that, because I told you. It does not work. Try to practice, I just learned this, the pedagogy of listening. The pedagogy of listening. Be a good listener. Listen to your kid, understand them. What are they interested in? And make learning personal. And what you do is a facilitator. You are here to activate what is already inside our children. And you don't have to teach them. Don't feel obligated to teach them. Do feel obligated to inspire them, to facilitate a learning session to happen. So that is one level. This one needs to be disrupted. The second level that we need to disrupt this sage on the stage model is we need to understand the teaching space. Teaching does not only happen inside the classroom. That's why I call it classroom without walls. And we need not only teachers, we also need to involve practitioners. We also need to get students involved. We need all of them to be here to co-learn, co-teach, and co-create. This is where I think social media and technology is so powerful, because it happened in my own case, how I have been using social media to literally create a global classroom. And my students benefited so much from this global classroom. My own students, my own children at home, they have also benefited from this global classroom. And recently I interviewed Duncan Wardle, who is the former VP of innovation at Disney. And he said something so profound that I have to share with you. And it is, diversity is innovation. Diversity is innovation. How powerful is that? Think about that. And how, as an educator, as a parent, you can use social media to enrich your classroom or home learning environment, to make it more diverse, to introduce multiple different perspectives. So anyway, so that's the second level. I think this notion needs to be disrupted. We need not only the teacher, and they are definitely not the sage, but we also need practitioners. We also need to get parents involved. Many parents I work with, this training is designed for the parents. Many parents have no idea what's going on. They think that the fact that I'm sending my kid to a school, hands off, everything is taken care of. That's wrong. That is not the case. So we need to get educators involved, parents involved, and even more importantly than ever is that we need to get professionals, practitioners involved in this big equation of educating the next generation. And I can't tell you how much my own understanding of what I was teaching before has deepened as a result of the fact that I became a practitioner, like next level. So we need to get all of them involved. And the third level that this notion needs to be disrupted is that we need to upskill the teachers, okay? And so many schools, I see this and they think about we need to invest in technology, this and that. It is good, but we can't just upskill the technology without upskilling the human being, which is the teacher I'm talking about. If you are a parent, you also need to learn. Today's environment is very different from when the time you and I were students, were looking for jobs, quite different. That is almost like a separate training. So as a parent, you cannot be lazy by outsourcing your own children's education to a school. No school will know your children better than you. So you need to invest in resources like different come join my life. live sessions every week, or read books, listen to podcast articles, or pay other people to teach you what is going on. You need to invest in that if you truly want to future-proof your children. So those are the 5 secrets that I discovered, and I hope those 5 secrets really shifted your approach to education a little bit differently, and make you think about how you want to raise your own children and help them become future ready. And so I mentioned this earlier. And so kind of maybe I should do a quick recap. So we discussed 5 secrets. The first one is academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg to help your children become future ready. The second one is emotional intelligence, EQ, and soft skills. They are more than twice as predictive of a person's success than IQ. So EQ is greater than IQ. And secret number 3, online learning is not the magic pill to our children's education problem. Secret number 4, digital natives, our children, they are not necessarily digitally savvy. It is a learned skill, and they need to be trained by qualified educators or professionals. And the last one is the sage on the stage model is broken. And so based on all of those things, my own learning, different books, conferences, so I developed this Iceberg model. I want to promise you, parents, and watching this right now live or watching this on replay, if you implement this model, you will help your children become future ready. Why? I'm going to show you some testimonials. I did this, I implement this at my own school, classroom without walls, with my own undergraduate students, and through consulting and working with different schools. And so this is the model. Are you ready? So for our children, I love Mark Twain. Maybe I can talk about that later. He has a very famous quote I will share with you later. So make sure you stay until the end. So you need knowledge for sure, right? And at my own school, Classroom Without Walls, we actually made a very clear distinction between school-based learning, school-based knowledge, and we added a new component, which is a new media knowledge. Remember, I discussed earlier some of the secrets that I discovered as a result of my obsession, which is our students, they don't know how to use social media to build a personal brand, to engage in storytelling, to engage in story selling. But at the same time, those are important future-ready skills. So we made a distinction, and this is the model that I actually use at my own school, Classroom Without Walls, and I recommend you give this a try at home, okay? So whatever school-based learning, good, and you need to add something additional and new media knowledge, especially help your children understand and build a professional personal brand and to cultivate their digital footprint so that they can be discovered by recruiters and thought leaders to open so many doors of opportunities to our children, okay? So that's the second one. And the middle chunk of this iceberg is life skills. And remember what I said earlier, EQ, life skills, they are twice predictive of a person's success than IQ. And I'm talking about life skills such as communication, critical thinking, collaboration, especially digital collaboration. And they don't have such skills. And the last one is the M. Would anyone else give this a try? And cultivate their self-awareness, understand who they are, understand what they want, and also gain the ability to not only recognize their own emotions, but regulate their own emotions, recognize social cues, and regulate social complex relationship conflict. All those are important, how to think and how to think like an entrepreneur. Even if you may not be interested in becoming an entrepreneur, which is totally fine, but how to think like one, how to figure things out, how to learn, how to think. All those are really important skills. And our mind, unless you master your mind, you are not going to master your life. And another reason that I added mindset, cultivating self-love, is if you have decided to put your children, into the digital space to build a social media, a personal brand, it is equally important that you actually start working on the inside of your children. Why? So many young children, their self-identity is tied to social media. How many hearts am I going to get from this particular Instagram post? And they like that number dictate their own self-worthiness. And that is wrong. And if you want your children to be not affected by social media, what other people say or think about them, and it is important that you work on their internal foundation. The stronger the internal is, the less they're going to care about what other people say or think about them in real life and social media wise. And trust me, I went through this journey myself. And nowadays, I don't really care much about what other people say or think about me. I have people blocked me, all those things. I don't care as much as I used to, because I started to work on my mind, cultivate self-love and to master my mind. So this is the kind of my magic. If you want your children to become future ready, you need to cover knowledge, you need to cover life skills, and most importantly, you need to help them master their mind and engage in unlearn and relearn. Okay. And so as I mentioned earlier, this is the framework that I work. I'm going to miss that. And so this is a framework that I use at my own school, Classroom Without Walls. And I want to tell you that this works. So this is actually a powerful article written by one of my dear friends, and he sent Jeff Hunter. He sent his children to my program last year. He also joined the program himself, and talking about how much his children actually transformed within a short period of time. And this kid, this is another video. If you want to watch, I can send you the link, talking about how much they learned in 10 days at Classroom Without Walls. And Life Accelerator is my signature program. Then 2 years at their business school class. And I felt actually quite sad to hear that, thinking about how much money the parents are investing in their children. And there's supposed to be another one. I don't know why it's not working. And there's another parent sending their children to Classroom Without Walls, and his son gained confidence and the knowledge skill, and also improved how he thinks. And here's another transformation. So testimonial from this amazing dad, Chocolate Johnny. Many of you may know, follow him online. So this is the quote I want to share with you earlier. Even if you are thinking, so you can definitely send your children to my program. I will take good care of your children. I actually have something really exciting. I'm opening enrollment for children 12 years old above to join Life Accelerator program, Classroom Without Walls signature program. So what I do want to share with you is, even if you're like, I don't want to join your program, it's totally fine. My program may not work for anyone. And I want you to remember this quote from Mark Twain. I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. And remember what I said earlier, and so many parents, did I not share my screen? I hope I did. And so many parents, and did I share my screen or not? And what's going on? I don't know if I share, so maybe let me do this again. So so many parents, they just outsource their children's education. So really remember what Mark Twain reminded us, don't let schooling interfere with the education. And just in case I didn't really share my screen, so here are some words from other parents and students to show you that this framework actually works. And this framework works, life skill, knowledge, and mindset. And finally, and I want to offer you, so if you are interested in my program, so please feel free to send me a message. We can definitely have a conversation. And finally, I'm all about giving you as much value as possible. And so you don't have to make the mistakes that I made as a teacher, as a mom. And so here's another framework. Remember the Iceberg models. If you are asking yourself, this is great, but how can I actually implement the Iceberg model? And here's another really powerful framework that I want to share with you. Learn, reflect, teach, or create. This is a model has worked so well on many students, and they work really well on my own students. Learn the 10%. Remember the model I discussed at the beginning. And then reflect. I have 3 powerful reflection questions. Of course, I don't have time to dive into those reflection questions right now. And the last step is you want your children to actually to internalize the knowledge through teaching someone else, through creation. And so, for example, if they are taking a chemistry class, ask them to create something, a physical product, or and ask them to create a video, to create a podcast, to write a blog article. Not only are they teaching you, but also they are building their digital footprint in a very positive, professional manner. And at the same time, they are developing 21st century future-ready skills. And but this is almost like a separate training, how you can apply this. And maybe I will do another training. But again, today we talk about the 5 secrets and that parents need to understand if they want to future-proof their children. And my name is I'm the founder of Classroom Without Walls. And if you are interested in learning more about my Life Accelerator program, and as I mentioned earlier, and the program is open for enrollment, and send your children to Classroom Without Walls. And so I think, let me share my screen again. And I do have, and I will also share the link if you are interested. And we offer 3 promises to the parents. We help your children transform from feeling lost to becoming confident through our personalized blueprint for success. And we also help your children upskill them to develop 21st century soft and life skills and to work and flourish in any workplace environment, including remote working. And also we help them to really transform their social media and digital addiction into a really positive, constructive learning, career development, and life skill tool. And not only that, and we also have a separate training as my Life Accelerator program. Remember how I talked about parents? You need to upskill your own game. So I actually have a separate training session, webinars, articles, book reflections, action lists, to-do lists for the parents that they can apply right away. So it's almost like a school for not only the parents, but also for the students, of course. But anyway, so if you have any question, feel free to message me, and we can have a conversation. And here's my email. So feel free to message me, aiaddySonzhang@gmail.com. And thank you so much for watching me live. I hope to hear from you soon. And let's get ready to future-proof the next generation. And thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward to hearing from you again. From Classroom Without Walls to your own classroom. Take care and stay ready for the future.